Morning. I just wanted to talk today about how I kind of structured my personal house. Now, this is not how I started, but if I was going to start all over again, this is kind of where I would begin. And I just want to kind of go through step by step what I did and how it became successful, where I made some mistakes, and kind of go from there. I have basically a 3-bedroom, 3-bath house, but I wasn't going to buy just any house on the market. I wanted to make sure I got a really good deal. Why wouldn't, right? I mean, this is what I do. I gotta get a good deal. But also I wanted to make sure something that would fit my family. We were trying to expand the family, and so we had to have some possibility to upgrade and stuff like that. So I was kind of out looking for a house. So the way I was thinking, of course, was buying at a foreclosure auction. I mean, walk the talk, right? So I started looking, sent some couple to my wife, and she was kind of like, too small, or I really like it. But finally we, because one of the things we talked about is like we'd each get a house at foreclosure auction, and we could kind of pick from what ones we wanted. So, and of course I wasn't afraid of doing something kind of rehab wise. That's kind of what I do. I like doing that and adding the value. When we were at an auction, so this was about 6 years ago, it was pretty well, it was a contemporary property. It was clearly vacant, and it looks like it had been vacant for I think about 6-7 years when I had actually first seen it. So I kind of pretty much knew that this was the one. So I kind of let my wife know that when I was at the auction, I'm like, hey, I think I found what, I was doing a little due diligence before the auction. And fortunately, she wasn't going to be able to go look at it right away. So I said, all right, we'll win it, put it in the company, and then if I have to, we can do a quick claim deed over to us and go from there. So I, as usual, I had a $5,000 check because this is in Massachusetts, so it's a non-judicial state. I was there. There, I think, was 2 other bidders. I did happen to mention to them, that hey, I'm definitely considering this as my personal residence, so please be kind. They're guys that we knew anyway, so I was pretty excited. And bid opens up around 74,000 and change. I was like, oh, this is awesome. So I bid 75,000, and no one bid me up. And so I won, which was pretty exciting. And the first thing I did is call my wife and said, come over here and let me know if this is something you're interested in. I did know the front door was unlocked, so I wanted to kind of go in, take her in and check it out. Now, this is a contemporary, so it's got all these different unique angles and stuff like that. And she got there and she was pretty much fell in love. We both fell in love with the potential. She also has a great mind and can kind of see the diamond in the rough, so to speak. So we were pretty excited. So it took about 45 days to close. Had to do title search. There was some kind of weird stuff going on. Unfortunately, I thought there was this extra lot. So if anyone understands, Springfield's not like you don't have a huge amount of land. With this parcel though, came 1.5 acres. It was on the water, so it was very unique, which was great. And I thought it actually had 3 acres because there was another parcel that was with it. Now, unfortunately, in my due diligence, I looked up the GIS map. It was owned by the same people. I did not personally at the time look at the notice and look at the mortgage if it contained both parcels. So unfortunately, the mortgage was only for the parcel with the house on it. I had a garage that was partially on one parcel, and the power was tied to the house, but the rest of the garage was on this other parcel that was owned by the same owner. But not doing my due diligence back at the time as thoroughly as I do now, it turns out after we acquired it that parcel had been foreclosed for taxes taking about a year prior, but they never closed on it. That's why it was still in the other owner's name. There was some kind of title issue, something like that. My neighbor actually bought it. And so while I'm thinking, wow, I got a 3-car garage, it does need to be fixed up, but this is great. I'm gonna have 3 acres. I was stoked. Well, I had not taken the time and done my full due diligence on that. So once again, that's one of the things I do now, is making sure I check the mortgage note, looking usually at the end, seeing which parcels are actually tied on the deed for that note, so that I know who's foreclosing, what they're actually foreclosing on, because I want to know exactly. And sometimes, you know, if you look at that, you'll see parcel A, parcel B, parcel C sometimes, and you can kind of look then at the GIS map to make sure that what you're bidding on, and there might be more land than you think, or less land in this case than you think. So once again, this is kind of, you know, something you need to slow down. I was just super excited. I got my emotion definitely got involved a little bit because it was my personal residence and I was getting it for a steal. So something, you know, I should have taken the time a little bit more to do, which I do now. So slow down, look at the registry deeds. Now, if you can have a lawyer do it beforehand to get you a full title search, you can have a better idea. But unfortunately, we're kind of going, especially then, we were going to 50 to 60 auctions a week, and it was hard to get all that done beforehand. So we were doing them on the fly. We definitely take time a little bit more to do it the week in advance. Plus, with our VA, really helps to kind of get a lot of that squared up. So that's something, you know, kind of food for thought right now. So I hope you guys are liking this style of video. I know I've been doing this a few times, so definitely let me in the comments below if this is something that you kind of like still, and I can kind of give my thoughts on my morning rucking. But yeah, just food for thought. So yeah, so pretty excited. Closed on the property, got in. My wife was excited. So a little bit less land than I thought, but hey, still a great deal. I mean, at the time I was thinking 400,000 after renovation, probably 100,000 in renovation costs, because it was abandoned for some time. So all the windows were rotted. Looked like there was some issues with one of the walls. Kitchen was extremely dated. Bathrooms were dated, everything. So the yard was, you know, first thing we kind of got into, trash the property out like always, get the utilities turned on, and kind of, you know, started going through everything. It was pretty exciting. Started demoing the yard, taking down some trees, kind of cleaning up. It was a beast. I mean, it was completely overgrown. But we started going to town now, and one thing is the roof was leaking. So first thing first, let's shore up the roof, make sure we don't get any more damage inside. And that was the first thing I did. So with that getting done, that was great. We were able to button it up, and I actually used, just kind of to close on the loan, I use a hard money lender, local, which was really good. He really helped and worked with me, and then also gave me some rehab budget. I did put about 20% down, paid a couple points, but it allowed me to have my other money keep working in the business, so that I didn't put it towards my property or my house. And there was so much equity, I was like, no big deal. Now, unfortunately, I had a old bankruptcy. Which will come a little bit more relevant in the story later, but old bankruptcy that I had to file when I was first starting out, which really kind of hurt. But it was necessary at the time. So we're getting into renovations. I'm doing my budgets. So one thing when you're doing it for yourself, it's one thing, I guess for me, when I'm looking at a property for rehab, I have a very clear defined scope and what I want done. And other than I should have been involving my wife a lot more, because this was something that she wanted to do by herself together, I did not take the time to really include her in as much, because I'm thinking, all right, I got hard money costs, I got to get this thing done. I was very focused and I was trying to keep costs down, trying to keep timeline down. I wanted to get it quickly done with the refinance so that I could pay off the hard money lender and put it into a long-term, 30-year debt, and move on, get moved in, move out of the apartment that we were in, which was one of our apartments that we had. And we were living on the third floor. Well, at the time we were living on the second floor, but we had moved from the third floor to the second floor at some point. And so I was just kind of very focused on get in, get out. And I know it was my house, but I'm still kind of trying to keep costs down. So the lesson was, if you are doing this with your significant other, slow down, really involve them, come up with a realistic plan together and realistic budget. And I think stick to it. I think it does really well for a marriage, and it's really important to kind of make sure you guys are on the same page. So lesson learned. We're doing a tree house right now, so that's definitely going much better. A much smaller project, but we have been doing quite a few projects over the years, and it's been a lot better because we are now working down, sitting together and working that projects together and then executing together. So and even when we did the siding for our house, because we had cedar siding, we kept it, but then we later on decided no and did a vinyl siding project together, and it worked out really well. It was a much better project, and we worked really well together. It was one of our COVID summer projects. I digress. So go through, do a lot of renovation ourselves. Another thing that came up that I didn't expect, because we didn't touch the electrical inspector came in and he saw that there was some water because it was the roof was leaking at one time. So he really wanted us to upgrade the panel, arc fault breakers, which I hate arc fault breakers. I don't know anyone else on here, but arc fault breakers suck. I'm sure they were great, and there's a reason why they were put in. There was probably someone had some fire or some, I don't know the exact issue, but if you don't know, arc fault breakers, if you have those GFCI outlets and you see the reset, well, these are actually the resets at the breakers themselves. Unfortunately, if you have anything that sparks or sends some kind of signal through, I don't know the technical, I'm not an electrician, but a lot of older vacuums, a lot of other things, they trip oh so frequently if they sense any kind of arc, even if it's not really causing a problem. They're very sensitive, and what a breaker used to cost maybe, or the standard breakers that you and I are probably used to cost maybe $2. Breakers are costing about $60, so very expensive, pain in the butt. So unfortunately the inspector said regardless those had to be swapped out, so we did, which increased cost quite a bit. And all across the project, honestly, there was a lot of extra costs not anticipated. Time expanded a lot more than anticipated, especially because it was my own home and things were put on the back burner often, as opposed to working on the project for our business, because of course I was using our own contractors. This time, if I had to do this again, I would probably separate using contractors that were only for my house, and that I didn't tie to the business. So therefore, it's not impeding my business, it's not affecting my business partners, and I can get the house still done in a reasonable time. So we probably doubled our time frame for completing the house. There was a lot more rot than anticipated, which once again, now I kind of keep that in mind and overestimate on stuff, especially when they've been vacant for so long, having roof leaks. And so these are, all the lessons I kind of learned more as we were going for when I was estimating rehab budgets on, kind of houses. And that was kind of the big thing. I unfortunately took a little bit longer on the refinance because, as I was saying before, I did have a bankruptcy, so I was hitting a wall constantly with the banks about my bankruptcy. I didn't have a big W-2 because the way we were funneling stuff, we were keeping our incomes very low, and everything was going back into the business. So I didn't look on paper as a great W-2 earner. So it took longer to get, a bank, but luckily Westfield Bank, thank you, one of our local banks, did take me under the wing, did understand that, wow, he does have quite a bit of assets, and income is just not on down to his actual W-2. So was able to finally refinance, paid off the hard money loan, all the extra points and interest, which was significantly more. So I paid probably about an extra $40,000 in points and interest than I was hoping to. But the good thing is it appraised for over $500,000. Thank you, market, for going up and up and up. After renovation costs went up to about $150,000, so bought it for $75,000, had an extra $40,000 in holding costs, and had about an extra $50,000 in rehab budget. But refinanced it, put up basically a $300,000 mortgage on it. So still, plenty of spread and equity. Put a HELOC on it as well, which I use and leverage for our business to help there, so that we can kind of buy more property and expand our little empire we have. And that was then what's great also during renovation. So we had a basement there. We were planning on that it would be a great daycare that my wife could start. She actually used to work at daycares, and so it was going to be a great little business for her, and that was kind of the focus. She unfortunately said, hey, that doesn't make sense for me to start this business because we travel a lot, and we do like to travel a lot, and we'd be kind of tied to some of that, so which made a lot of sense. But then again, I had spent quite a bit of money, so figuring out how best to pay that back. So we discussed Airbnb. She did not want that in the house, so we had kind of a separate, the whole basement was all finished and separated. So she was going to try out an Airbnb. She was very apprehensive. I get it. It's bringing people we don't know into our home. Luckily there's separation. She tried it. She loved it. She's crushing it. She's, on average making probably $40,000 a year from that. So besides her bringing in some extra income there, it also some of it goes towards the house as income, so therefore lowering our expenses drastically to the point where it's pretty much break even, which is great. So that allows her to have some reprieve, not worrying about stuff. I'm sorry, I'm just making sure I cross the road here safely. Right, Naya? Hi, Naya. So yeah, so that's kind of how it breaks down what we did with the extra thing. So for the house hacking, which was great, but I really have to say, when kind of recapping on the lessons, even though it was my own house, spending a little bit more time on due diligence so I know what exactly I'm bidding on has been really changed when we're going to these foreclosure auctions. Slowing down, talking to my wife, having a plan together is pivotal, and then also taking the time to, on looking at the rehab budgets, because it's gonna inevitably actually come up that things are a little bit more expensive. So having a bigger contingency has been also what helped us better on all of our rehabs going forward. So now it's been 7 years or whatever since we won it at foreclosure auction, and had a lot of this happen in that year. Of basically, it was about 6 months of rehab and then another 6 months to refinance. So it was a great project. It turned out really well. Luckily the market went up, but if it hadn't, it could have been a lot tighter. So it's kind of caution there, but it was well worth it. We have a great house that we house hack that provides us great shelter. We're happy where we are. Let me go once again in the comments below. Is this kind of stories you want? And you kind of hear some of the little stories of like our foreclosure auctions. It's just kind of the stuff you like to hear about, the style of me just kind of walking and talking while I'm wrecking. I was also thinking trying this also at some of the projects that we have, and we have been doing more vlog style, just kind of riffing off when we're on a project on what's going on, what we've learned, so that you guys can don't make the same mistakes that we've done. Because I mean, we've done tons of projects, but we've also made tons of mistakes. We do try to learn from them consistently, improve our business. We are obviously, always looking to expand and refine our process procedures so that we can have an even more successful company. And we hope that you guys can learn from that. So thanks so much. If you want to learn more about foreclosure auctions, please check out our book, Foreclosures Unlocked. It's up on Amazon. It's I think it's a great read. We are coming out soon with an audiobook, so keep an eye out for that as well. And I hope to see you guys on the next video. Thank you so much, and have a great weekend.